What is going on, Roundtable Sports? My name is Colby Cochran. I am your host here with Roundtable Sports, and we got the first Smackdown here of the 2024 season. We got playoffs starting right around the bend, and this is where it all begins. The hunt for the Lombardi Trophy, everything on the line, and we have our creators here. We got one bar for the Vikings, we got Jake here for the Rams, and we are going to break down this matchup for the wild card round. Today's video brought to you by BetUS. We'll talk to you guys a little bit later on how you can get an exclusive deal from them. But before we start to break this game down, before we get into the nitty gritty, before these guys start really going at each other's necks, let's see how they're doing before they really start hating on each other. Jake, my man, how you doing?
I'm great. It's really awesome to get to meet you both. We talked a little bit, off air beforehand, and I'm just excited. I like you both. I like what you guys do, and yeah, no ill will, regardless of what I say. I'm not really much of a trash talker because I'm not on the field, so I can't back that up. So it should be fun.
How do you feel about your Rams this year? I mean, I just feel like for you guys, it's been this roller coaster, right? To where you're down, you're not performing as well as you originally expected. Coming off of making the playoffs last year, looks like you guys were easily going to be a team that misses it. You start to rise to the occasion. You play your best football as the season progresses. You blow out a team like the New England Patriots. You start getting this momentum, and you're able to squeeze in. How does that feel as a Rams fan?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it was shocking, except we literally just went through this last year, 3-6, to then win 7 of their last 8, lose an overtime game against the Ravens. The difference is this year they won that crazy game. They beat the Bills. So after they did that, I was kind of like, all right. But also, to be fair, I had this team winning the Super Bowl before the season. I didn't really buy into the stuff of Aaron Donald's gone. No, I saw what they did, going out and getting Verse, going out and getting Fisk, and was just really impressed with the coaching staff that Sean McVay once again had to assemble, because every year it's brand new coaching staff, it seems like. And I just really felt confident. But I think the thing that happened was they got just doused in the flame of injuries. And it was crazy from the get-go. And just to see them kind of stick by, I said when they were 1-4, I was like, they're going to go 10-7 and go to the playoffs. And people thought I was crazy. Both Rams fans, Seahawks fans, 49, whatever. And I felt really confident just because this is Sean McVay. He's been through this. He's continued to mature as a head coach. He's done all this before the age of 40. And I just think when you look at the guys on this roster, there's a lot of star power where it's almost like, don't let us get in the tournament, right? And that's what happened. And they ended up winning the division to add on to that, which was their only course of action, surprisingly. So they get a home playoff game for the first time since the Super Bowl season. And this is the first time since the Super Bowl in which in the playoffs they have had, home field advantage. So, I think right now this Rams team is winning unconventionally. And while some might look at that as kind of a negative, I actually think it's a positive.
I love that too. And you know what? Everybody likes to get on their teams and say, you're not out here going undefeated. You're not out here winning 10, 12 plus games. It doesn't matter how you start. And that's something that I say on my channel all the time. It does not matter how you start. It matters how you finish. And for my New England Patriots, I think that's something we saw beautifully this year. You win week 1, and then you end up firing your coach immediately after the final game of the season. So I think your Rams really are able to capture that idea that even if you struggle in the beginning of the season, you struggle in September, you struggle in October, it doesn't matter, because as Bill Belichick would always say, real football starts in November. Real football starts in December, and we are seeing that yet again with the Rams. Now, one bar for you, it's a little bit different. Nobody thought that you guys were going to be good this year. Point blank period, full pause. Nobody thought you guys were going to make the playoffs. Nobody thought you guys were going to compete. Everybody thought that Sam Darnold was going to be this bridge quarterback until you guys were ready for J.J. McCarthy. But you guys absolutely shocked the world. You went out. You showed that you are a team that deserves to potentially compete for a Lombardi. How do you and the rest of Vikings fans feel kind of about this narrative that has now surprisingly been placed about your team?
No, it's funny. I mean, Jake, you and I are opposites, where you were kind of everyone's saying the Rams weren't going to be good. You're like, the Rams are going to be good. And starting the season, like I was trying to take the more realistic angle with the Vikings. I mean, even Vikings fans, people who follow the Vikings, were very surprised how this ended up. There was the occasional delusional Viking fan say, hey, we're getting 13, 14 wins. Everyone's like, you're drinking the purple Kool-Aid, you're crazy. But I mean, I had the Vikings at 7, 8 wins, and people were telling me I was nuts. I mean, the over-under, I think, was like 6 wins for the Minnesota Vikings. And what they did this year, I mean, it's testament to the coaching staff, Brian Flores, Kevin O'Connell. I mean, I do believe the Vikings are a team where players are actually going to want to come and play. I mean, they've proven that. What they've done is absolutely insane. Sam Darnold is the man. I'm sure we'll talk about last week against the Detroit Lions where they completely crapped the bed. But this whole year, overachieving. Very good defense. They've taken a ton of free agents. The free agent class that this Vikings brought in, the Andrew Van Ginkels, the Jonathan Grenards, the Blake Cashmans, has been absolutely amazing. And that doesn't even count Sam Darnold. Doesn't count Aaron Jones. It's been wonderful. And for them to put all those pieces together and get 14 wins, 1 game away from getting that damn bye and 1 win away from getting the home field advantage. And like I said, that did not pan out. And it's crazy. We got 14 dubs. And we get to travel, go on the road in the playoffs to a team that I'm not overly excited to play. I know we're going to dive into it. The Rams are a damn good team, very well coached. But to answer your question, man, I mean, it's been a great year. I mean, to rip off 9 wins in a row, to watch Sam Darnold, will he be back? Who knows? But the dude made some money. He made the Vikings look good. He made Kevin O'Connell look good. Gives us hope for J.J. McCarthy in the future as far as if he can make Sam Darnold look good. Shit, you can make J.J. McCarthy turn into something. So it's nothing but good stuff in Minnesota. Hopefully that continues after Monday night.
Yeah, and one bar, I think you hit on it perfectly that, this isn't exactly the matchup that maybe you would have preferred to have if you were a Vikings fan. It could definitely be worse, but we saw these teams face off just a few short months ago, back in October, and the Rams were the team that was ultimately able to prevail. They won fairly confidently. I mean, 30-20. So that's why Vikings fans may be a little bit worried about this one. But the Rams, Sean McVay, they have played some rough football, in the beginning, but they've gotten better, as we alluded to earlier, as time has gone on. And like we said earlier, how you play football as the season progresses matters the most. So one bar, does it worry you that the Rams are getting better as the season has progressed?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Rams, I was saying this a couple of weeks ago. It's like if it comes playoff time, we don't get that number 1 seed. The Rams are one of those teams. I mean, when you look at the NFC as a whole in the playoffs, it's like you could close your eyes. I mean, obviously the Eagles and the Lions, they're the easy ones to point to, say they're going to run its course. But like, I mean, the Rams, the Vikings, even the Bucks, I mean, any of these teams could make a run at this thing. And the Rams, just the way they're coached, Stafford, obviously those receivers, and we're going to talk about, they just have that scare factor when you pair them up against the Vikings defense. I mean, if they're going to play a little loose zone or whatever, I mean, those quick passes are just absolutely going to kill you. So yeah, the Rams are the real deal. I mean, I know they 10-7, I believe, is a record. And they've been kind of up and down early on, but they're ready to go. Like the Rams are locked and loaded. Sean McVay in the playoffs, not excited the fact that we have to travel. So yeah, it's going to be a late night on Monday, win or lose. It's going to be close.
Yeah, playing a team who's playing some of the hottest football when it matters most, that is a scary thought because now you're in the playoffs. Teams that win when it matters most, that have the most on the line, those are the scary teams, no matter what the talent on the roster is like, no matter what the overall record is like. One bar, I want to ask you real quick, who would you have preferred to play in the wild card round? Would you have preferred to play the Rams, or is there a team you would have preferred to play more?
No, I want to play the Bucks. I mean, the Bucks aren't it's not like it's a gimme there either, but I just like that matchup a little bit better. The Rams, when we saw them the first time, I mean, yeah, we didn't have Blake Cashman, which was a big piece of this defense, but just what they can do with those quick passes and what those receivers can do when they get the ball in their hands in those short routes is not a great matchup for our elderly cornerbacks in Gilmore and Griffin. And that's going to be painful. So yeah, I would have picked the Bucks. I would have picked the first round bye. I would have paid a lot of money to get that first round bye. But it didn't happen. 31-9. I'm still ornery, man.
Well, Jake, on the opposite side of things, Kevin O'Connell is arguably the coach of the year. His ability to adapt in the middle of games and as the season has progressed has been next to none out of every coach in the NFL. Does it worry you as a Rams fan that he is going to be able to adapt and learn from the mistakes that the Vikings made early on in the season when they lost to your Rams and kind of implement that here and come out to prevail?
You know, I have a lot of respect for the Vikings organization, which I think is among the best in the league from just the way they treat players and coaches and what have you. And I think Kevin O'Connell is a big reason, you know, why the Vikings are what they are. But I am not at all concerned about this game. I think the Rams getting home field advantage, which now all of a sudden fans are starting to show up at SoFi. I mean, we just got word from, I forget who it was, that one of the ticket places tweeted out, it was like 85+% Rams fans expected. If the Rams have home field, I feel really good about this game, even more so than I already do. And, you know, I think when you look at this, yeah, the Vikings have 14 wins, and, you know, that's really impressive. And I've been really, really high on Sam Darnold, but that game in week 18, that mattered. I'm not going to blow that off. And I know a lot of people are going to look at it on, you know, both sides. They're going to look at it one way where they're going to kill the guy and try to nullify his entire season based on that one game, which I don't think is fair. But then on the flip side, there are going to be people that just throw that game away like, oh, well, it's the playoffs, clean slate. We've seen teams, you know, kind of skeet their way into the playoffs and then really, you know, just kind of come on strong. Here's my thing, is that those things that we saw come up in that game were real. And, you know, it shouldn't discredit Sam Darnold as a quarterback and what he did this year. But when the Rams played the Vikings, they had a half of Darisaw, okay? They don't have that anymore. Like Darisaw, they are missing Darisaw, and it is clear. I watched this offensive line. I'm not overly impressed, although I will say they've played pretty decent up until this game, and this game was just the whole kitchen sink and then some. But I think really the Lions, they looked at, you know, all the numbers that indicated that, you know, Sam Darnold is really good against the blitz. He had been good all year, and they tested it, and they just kept blitzing him. And sure enough, I mean, he really struggled, and he had some drops, and he had some, you know, Jefferson probably shouldn't have stopped running, what have you. But the big thing there is that they had multiple red zone opportunities and they were stifled. And this has not been a team that's been able to finish in the red zone nearly enough. It's why they've had games where you have a 12-7 win over the Jacksonville Jaguars of all teams. So they've had those moments. Now, the thing about the Vikings is it doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't have to be a 40-point drubbing. This team finds ways to win in one-possession games. This is what they do. However, the Rams also find ways to turn games into one-possession games that they should probably blow teams out in. So I do think that is a little bit of a concern. But when I look at the Rams, this is a team that really hasn't been healthy the majority of the season. They are now as healthy as probably they've been all year. This iteration of the team, they're really just missing Blake Corum at this point, which I don't want to, minimize that loss. But it's not as much of a loss as, say, Havenstein last week or the week prior, or, losing a Puka Nacua or a Cooper Kupp. Everybody is healthy. You watch the Vikings, they had to lay it all on the line. They played all their starters, and they were absolutely demoralized, in front of their rival. Whereas the Rams, they lost a very inspiring game with mostly backups in against their rival. And so I just feel like I watched Stafford the last 3 weeks. People are going to point the finger there. I think Stafford's been banged up, and I think he needed that rest. Cooper Kupp needed that rest. Kyron Williams has the most touches of any Ram since Steven Jackson in 2010, so I can definitely tell you he needed that rest. And Puka Nacua, just getting him rest doesn't hurt. In addition to that, they rested Kevin Dotson, who's been playing every single game. He left the Lions game after the game. He played the entire game. Week 1, leaves in a walking boot. He was dealing with that ankle for the majority of the season. He got a rest. Alec Jackson, left tackle, got a rest. And most importantly, Rob Havenstein, who was kind of questionable whether or not he would play, got a rest. So I do think fully healthy, the Rams, I trust them at home. I feel like they are going to win this game. What would the score be? I couldn't really tell you. I could see it being a 10-point game again. I could see it being a 3-point game. I will say that I think the Rams having the better strength of victory does come into this as well. They have the best strength of victory of anybody in the NFC except for the Bucs and the Lions. So in really tough games where you had to go up against the Bills, you had to go up against, obviously Philly wasn't a great one, but going up against the Lions when you had your fourth string left tackle, most of the offensive line out, banged up to all hell early on in the season, it didn't matter if it was week 1 or later in the year, this Rams team has pushed and shoved their way into the playoffs, and they won 9 of the last 11 with their starters. So I feel really good about them in this one.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll say this too, is that I think, guys, respect to both of you, I think this is going to be the most underrated game of the playoffs here for week 1. Because how you guys match up, I think, is so beyond intriguing, and not enough people are talking about this. We have one of the best defenses, if not the best defense in the NFL, led by Brian Flores for your Minnesota Vikings, one bar. You guys, I think, lead the NFL in takeaways too. You guys make opportunities defensively, but then on the opposite side of things, you know, Jake, what your Rams are able to do offensively, they run the most motion in the NFL right next to the Miami Dolphins. That allows them to get their players in favorable matchups, to get them in their one-on-one matchups, your Cooper Kupps and whatnot. So I think it's going to be really intriguing to see how that motion can help get your Rams players into favorable matchups and how maybe Brian Flores is able to stop that. I think that's where this game starts. I think that's where this game finishes, is with the Rams offense and the Minnesota Vikings defense. But Jake, while we got you here, I want to know, what is the biggest weakness to the Minnesota Vikings that you think the Rams can take advantage of in order to continue on in the playoffs?
It's their tendencies. They play the too high safety coverage. They play it more than anybody in the league, and they leave the middle of the field open. The percentage they leave it open is more than anybody in the league. I think the Rams can really take advantage of that, and I think they will. There's multiple guys that can really beat them yards after the catch. You talk about Jordan Whittington, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, Tutu Atwell, Tyler Higbee. They got him going. So I think that's something that they're really going to look at. They've also been trying to get the passing game going out of the backfield. Kyron Williams has had more touches as of late. In addition to that, Ronnie Rivers caught 4 balls in that Week 18 game. So I do look for them to kind of attack the middle of the field. I know they didn't have Blake Cashman the last time, and that obviously does change some things there, but I still think that is a weakness here because of their tendencies. And in addition to that, if you try to blitz Stafford, especially on first down, I totally understand why you would try to do that, but Stafford has just made teams pay when they try to blitz him on first down. So when you take that out of it, I think that's where it really, kind of leads you to the, expectation where if the Rams defense, who has not allowed more than 10 points with starters fully playing the last 3 games because we're nullifying Week 18, if the Rams defense continues to play at the level they are and they're able to get the pressure that they're able to get, then I have this offense that can just grind this game out. They're not a team that is dying for the explosive play. They're not going deep down the field. They're not going to try and fit it into that pocket in cover 2. They are going to basically take what the defense gives them. They've been doing that all year. They talked about in the Lions game. People complained about it. How do you not take the top off the defense, all that? They said, look, we saw some structures here. We attacked them accordingly. And that's exactly what I expect them to do. If the Vikings do play to their tendencies, I think the Rams will hit them over the head with the short passing game, very similar to what One Bar brought up earlier.
Perfect, guys. Make sure you don't forget, subscribe here to Roundtable Sports. This is the main hub to each of our divisions. We have each division covered in the NFL, but this is where you get content you're not going to find anywhere else. We have creators from every single NFL team coming on here, doing things just like this, exclusive content. Make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe here. We got Wake Up and Ball every single Monday through Thursday, or Monday through Friday, rather. And then every single Thursday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, we have Draftaholics, where we have guys, including myself, breaking down everything happening in the 2025 NFL Draft. And of course, while you're at it, let us know in the comment section below. We want to hear from you guys. Who do you think is going to win this game? Like we alluded to, this is where all the marbles matter. This is where if you do not show up, your hunt for the Lombardi is officially ended. It is win or it is go home. Who do you have winning, the Vikings or Rams? Let us know in the comment section below. But One Bar, I want to go over to you and I want to ask you the same question that I just asked Jake, and that is, What is the biggest weakness to the Rams that you think your Minnesota Vikings can take advantage of to get to the next round of the playoffs?
Well, I think it's something we didn't really try to take advantage much in the first game, and that's actually trying and sticking to running the ball. Aaron Jones didn't really give him a shot in that first game, and I think they need to stick to that. They need to run the ball. Last week we didn't run the ball enough as well, and I think on this Rams team you can get some yards on the ground. The other thing is attacking that secondary. Like, they need to come out firing. Like, no dinks and dunks. We're not throwing 1-yard passes to their fullback, CJ Ham. They got to put out Justin Jefferson, 18, and go say, you know what, go win us this playoff game. Jordan Addison didn't get involved barely at all last game. They need to throw that thing. I'm not saying they're coming out throwing go routes 90% of the time, but they need to attack. And TJ Hawkinson, a guy who was not playing in the first game as well, tight end, baby. Tight end. Take advantage of that middle of the field. TJ Hawkinson needs 7-9 catches, 90 yards. And just remember, like, the last time we lost was to the Rams. Vikings went on a 9-game winning streak after that. Like, these aren't beaten little puppies by any means. The Vikings are going to come out. That Detroit Lion game, it was 10-6 at halftime and 17-9 starting the fourth quarter. Their defense was on the field, and the Vikings finally were just so gassed. It got out of hand. Jahmyr Gibbs absolutely just tore us a new one in that fourth. But, like, that game was very, very winnable until that final quarter. Like, the Vikings are the real deal. They got 14 wins for a reason. Everybody's sitting doubting all year. Like, oh yeah, are they the real deal? Week 8, week 9, week 10. Are they the real? Okay, the real deal. Sam Darnold, is he the real deal? Is he? Oh, finally, it's a real deal. And he has one game, one bad game. And everyone's like, oh, there's Sam Darnold. Oh, Vikings are frauds. It's like BS, man. I love it, man. I love when everybody's against it, because we've been all year and we've been proving everybody wrong. And the thing with Sam Darnold last week, and maybe I'm delusional, and I am half delusional at least, but I actually enjoyed what Sam Darnold sucked at last week. Was they were bringing the pressure, and he's very good against the blitz, but they were just horrible passes. He missed 5 touchdowns. We were 0 for 4 in the red zone, and it wasn't like he was just like getting sacked. They were wide open. He was missing them, and that actually makes me feel better, because we've seen all year him throwing dimes. Like, I don't know if that was his flu game. I don't know what happened to that dude. It was his worst game by far, but that's not the real Sam Darnold. I expect him to come out. The only thing with him is we haven't seen him in this spot. Like, even last week, like, is that the real deal when he's under pressure, or was that just a crappy game? We haven't seen Sam Darnold in a playoff game. We haven't seen Sam Darnold where it matters. So it's going to be very interesting to see. But as far as what going back to your original question, it's just, we got to attack the Rams. They're going to be bringing the house. They got some guys up front. I'm not happy with some of those guys they got up front versus Fisk, who I absolutely loved coming out of the draft. Pains me that we get to go against him. But got to get the ball out of his hands. Sam Darnold will take sacks. He will get sacked 3 times this game. I guarantee it. He can't get sacked 5 times. He can get sacked 3 times, and he will. But he's got to make some plays.
Well, guys, before we go ahead and we continue on today's breakdown, want to go ahead and look at the odds via BetUS for this game. Right now, when you guys sign up with BetUS, you use the promo code YouTube150, YouTube150 when you sign up. By the way, super quick, takes less than 60 seconds. You can use the website. You can use their mobile app. You'll be locked into an exclusive offer of a 150% sign-up bonus on your first deposit, followed by 125 on your next 2, all the way up to $2,000. That is a deal on your first 3 deposits that you can utilize right now. You can use it on the playoff games. You can use it on the Super Bowl. You can use it on college football, basketball, baseball, hockey, horse racing, fighting, politics, entertainment. BetUS has the best betting variety in the business, something they pride themselves on, and the deal doesn't stop there. They're even giving you 10% back on your net losses 2 times a year. Play smart, play responsible, but go ahead, have a little bit of extra fun in the playoffs and the postseason here with BetUS. Now, I'm going to get your guys' score predictions and overall thoughts at the end of the stream before we send you guys away. But right now, it looks like the Minnesota Vikings are just 1 point favorites, and the over-under is 47 total points. Jake, let's start with you. What do you think about these odds?
Yeah, I mean, I get them. I understand Rams fans are upset, to be underdogs at home. But, I mean, the Vikings won 14 games. I'm not going to sit here and say, the Rams should be 3-point favorites, right? It's a playoff game. I mean, I think a pick 'em makes sense. But I also don't have an issue with, the Vikings being favored. The Rams also, if you're a Rams fan, you want to be doubted. I mean, you were doubted in the playoffs. I'll never forget the last Monday Night Football game that they played in the playoffs. It was actually the first one in the NFL's history, and they played that Monday Night Wildcard game against Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, and everybody said going in that game, the Cardinals are going to win. Kyler Murray's going to prove everyone wrong. Rams won 34-11, I believe. And then after that, it was, they're going to Tampa and Tom Brady. They have no chance. They go up 27-3, if not for 4 fluke fumbles. That game's a blowout. All of a sudden, Tom Brady comes back, ties the game up. Everyone said all year long, Stafford has never done anything clutch. He can't win a playoff game. And sure enough, he goes down the field and wins the game for the Rams. And then the 49er game. They can't beat the 49ers. Can't happen. Down 10 in the fourth quarter. Matthew Stafford wills them back. Defense wills them back. They win that game. And then the Super Bowl. Everyone's like, I think the Rams have this, the Rams have this, but the Bengals have Joe Burrow. And, that was that. And everybody started to lean towards Joe Burrow and the Bengals. And the Rams had like 9 sacks in that game. They lost Odell Beckham Jr. They were playing down to their third string tight end. No healthy running back. And Matthew Stafford had to claw back and win that game. And he did that. And I think that's really how I look at it, is that you would want to be, the underdog, because the Rams are pretty much always the underdog, except when they beat the Titans in the Super Bowl. I mean, everybody... to be fair, the Patriots won, the greatest show on turf. I'm sure the Patriots weren't favorited in that game, but everybody wanted them to win. So, yeah, I don't mind being the underdog, and I think it's definitely fair because it's a testament to what the Vikings have done this year. Winning 14 games is not easy, and I don't think we should just minimize what they did.
So, Jake, you're telling me you don't feel disrespected at all? I mean, you guys played each other just a few months ago and you beat them by 10 points. You don't think you guys should be favored even in the slightest?
Well, here's the thing with me, Colby, is that while I think people think that I'm some Rams homer and I'm only going to side with the Rams, I keep it real. And some people don't, some people don't like it. It's what it is. The Rams won on a short week, which that also means the Vikings had to come back after losing to a physical Lions football team. They had to go on the road, play LA on a short week. And they had to play him. Christian Darrisaw goes down after the first half. I'm not, ignorant to that fact. They didn't really run the ball with Aaron Jones in that game. And Blake Cashman they didn't have in that one. Now, there are also some other things on the Rams side where Justin Dedek was starting at left guard, so they weren't fully healthy on the offensive line. They did just put in Puka Nacua. So while, I saw Flores was using that, as an excuse, I guess, for why the Vikings might not have been ready for him, that also could be used the other way. I mean, the fact that Puka did what he did was insane because he didn't even really practice. And then Cooper Kupp's coming back. And sometimes these guys kind of have to ease their way into things. And they were just kind of thrown in the fire. Stafford throws 4 touchdowns in that game. Kyron runs for almost 100 yards. Yeah, I mean, I think it goes both ways. I just think both teams are good. I would say the Rams are better than their 10-7 record. They're definitely worth 11-6. They win that game clearly with the starters. They almost beat Seattle with most of their backups in, and they should have beat the Bears. They should have beat the Packers. They weren't healthy for the majority of the year, but we can't take away from what the Vikings actually did. We can sit here and say Rams should have, would have, could have, but now it's a clean slate. But to be fair, while the seeding is the Rams get the 4 seed, the seeding is the Rams are hosting a playoff game in which they're hosting it because, let's be honest here, the playoffs are very flawed in the way they do things. A 14-win team should never be on the road in the wild card. Also, a division winner shouldn't be having to play a 14-win team in the first round of the playoffs. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, for sure. And what do you think about that over-under? Are you going to take that over or are you going to take that under?
It's gonna toe that line, man. It feels like a 23-20 style game. Could be like a 30-27. It's gonna be like a 3-point. I say 3 to 10 points, kind of similar to the game that we saw, week 8. So I mean, yeah, it's tough. I probably would avoid that just because I could see it being 20-17. I mean, the thing is the Rams don't play that high octane explosive style offense that people saw when they won the Super Bowl, that people saw when they won it with the greatest show on turf, that they've kind of been known for. When the Rams are good, it's because they have an explosive offense. This is a young defensive team that is going to grind it out. They're not going to win in 5, play drives. They're going to win on 15 play drives, taking over the game, controlling the clock, and not allowing your defense to breathe.
For sure. Now, one bar, I want to go down to you, and I want to get your thoughts on this. Like we said, you guys are favorited. You are favorited by 1 point. Do you feel disrespected that it's only 1 point, or are you saying, you know what, we got beat early on. I'll take us being favored by any margin, and then also let me know what you think about the over-under.
No, I mean, the -1's fine on the road. I mean, on the road, being favored in a playoff game against a good team, hell yeah, I'll take that. I'm not going to be disrespected. It is a different team. I mean, and I'm not, Jake, you said it good. I mean, these are both 2 different teams this time around. It's not just that the Vikings are getting guys back. The Rams are healthier and they have some other things going on for them. But like the Blake Cashman thing is such a big deal to have him back. I mean, we had Ivan Pace and Kamir Grazier-Hill trying to cover some of these guys last time. And they are some of the worst coverage linebackers in the league, not just on the Vikings. Blake Cashman does it all. Blake Cashman's going to be in the middle, making sure that stuff doesn't happen, or at least trying to contain it. They're going to get theirs, but Blake Cashman will be much better at that. And TJ Hawkinson, having him, I can't say how much of an improvement that'll be over having Johnny Munt last time as our tight end. And Cam Robinson being at left tackle when they made that trade, he's been good. He hasn't been great by any means, but he's been good. He's no Darisaw. So the Vikings are a different team. I can't really even compare it to the first time we played because we went on such a tear after that. I mean, a 9-game winning streak, just everything just humming. So again, everybody's going to point to last week, but the -1, I'll take it. Over under, that is a tough one at 47, man. I would take. My prediction's gonna make me wrong, but I would take the under, but my prediction's actually over. So.
Ooh, all right. Well, guys, this is where we kick it to you. Let us know in the comment section below. What do you think about these odds, or what are you taking with BetUS? Help each other out. Have a little debate. Should you take the over? Should you take the under? And what do you think about the point spread? Let us know in the comment section below. But fellas, I got one more question for each of you before we get into final predictions, final scores. And Jake, we'll start here with you. What is the biggest worry that you have for your own team heading into this game?
Yeah, I think the biggest worry is Stafford, even with that rest, is still really banged up, doesn't look like himself, and you'll see it on the first drive. Like, you'll know. Like, if he comes out and he's just missing throws and what have you, it's going to be, oh no. Like, what are we going to do here, right? Because I trust this defense. I know people are going to get on them. They're young. They've been really, really good as of late. Everyone beat them over the head when they gave up 42 against Josh Allen, the Bills. They focused more on beating up the defense than actually crediting the win, right? Well, the defense heard that. They went on the road in the pouring rain against the 49ers, who were desperate to win that game. They held the 49ers to 6 points. Then they go out in the freezing cold. I know, I was there, against the New York Jets. Probably one of the coldest games I've ever been at. And it was not easy. They hold them to 9. Okay. And really, they were outplayed the majority of the game, first 3 quarters. Rams defense stepped up. They held them to 9. Then you go on a short week after that game, traveling 3,000 miles to play the Arizona Cardinals, who have everything to play for, pride-wise, right? And they want to knock the Rams out. They hate the Rams. They beat them 41-10 earlier in the year. And the Rams come out, and that defense, despite the fact the offense was almost non-existent, the defense stepped up and had a huge turnover at the end of the game. This has been like a bend-don't-break style defense, but they've been so good in the red zone. And the thing that I want to point out here real quick, and why I think that, the reason to answer your question, why the scariest thing is on the offensive side, not the defensive side, and why I trust the defense, right? The defense is the number 1 4th down defense in the playoffs right now over the last second half of the year. They have been so good in those moments. Now, that might not make sense against the Vikings, but if they move on, we know Dan Campbell will go for it like 8 times. I don't have to tell one bar that. So yeah, that bodes well. As far as the offense, yeah, they've won unconventionally. They're going to have to move the football. They're going to have to run the football. But the thing that worries me is, if Stafford comes out, that's the biggest worry. If he comes out and he looks awful and he looks like he's not healthy, the Rams are in trouble.
Jake, I was actually a little surprised. You kept me on my toes. I really thought that you were going to say your secondary was going to be the biggest thing that worried you about the Rams. You kept me on my toes, and I like it. I like
secondary.
That answer.
I like the secondary a lot.
Okay, you are the first Rams fan that I have ever heard this season say they like the secondary. I like that. I like that, Jake. Let's go.
They're good, man. They play within what they're asked to do. They're not playing bump and run all game. And if they were, I think they'd be better. I think the stats would be better. They played Akella Witherspoon 8 snaps the last time they saw the Vikings. He has been key and critical down the stretch. Had the game-winning interception against the Cardinals. Had 3 PBUs and arguably one of the game-saving plays against the 49ers. Had a huge 4th down pass breakup on Devontae Adams in the Jets game. When they added him, everyone around him started playing better in the secondary. Plus, they have a guy in Kobe Durant, who is their best corner all year, who's their 3rd guy. So I think they have a lot of depth there. I would argue their guy that they picked up from waivers in Emmanuel Forbes, who finally got some action, looked really good against DK Metcalf last week. He should be used as a weapon on 3rd down because he's not going to help you much in the tackling department. The guy's $170, but he's going to help you on 3rd down. You want to use him as a weapon, put him on an Addison or put him on a Justin Jefferson and just say, look, man coverage, obviously not going to be a tackling situation where you have to come downhill. I think he can do that. The fluidity is there in his hips. He's a very big athlete, and this guy is a ball hawk. So I'm not saying they'll play him, but I really like the secondary, the defense, the safeties. They got 2, the UDFA and a 3rd round pick that are just really playing out of their minds. Cam Kinchins and Jalen McCullough. They have guys in Cam Curl and Quentin Lake. They're getting John Johnson back officially. I think the secondary is way better than people realize.
Man, I loved Kitchens coming out of the draft, man. What an absolute steal of a pick that was for you guys when you got it, man. I couldn't believe that. But one bar, I want to go over to you, and I want to ask you the same question. What is the biggest worry that you have for the Vikings heading into this game?
Well, it's actually going to be pretty similar because we got with Sam Darnold coming off of that game. How do they bounce back, man? How do they bounce back after that? Do they come out firing? How does Kevin O'Connell bounce back after that? We're going to find out what this team is made of real quick. And with Sam Darnold, he's had some bad games. He's had worse games than he actually had against Detroit. He had a couple right in the middle of the season that were pretty Jaguars game, and I believe it was the Bears game where he was playing bad, and he bounced back and he balled out the next week. And we're going to see if he can do it on a bigger platform in the playoffs on Monday Night Football. But that's going to be the biggest question. That is the big. Defensively, I really have zero concerns against this Rams team. And I know that last time they put up 30, but like I said, it's a different team. Like defense doesn't worry me. Run game, if they use it, isn't going to worry me. Going against the secondary or receiving, I think Addison and I think Justin Jefferson are going to eat. I think they are going to eat that secondary alive as long as Mr. Darnold can get the ball to him. That's going to be the big question. I mean, they're going to be open. They're going to be able to open. They were open damn near the whole game against Detroit. He just couldn't get the ball in his hands. Like it wasn't even close to him. He was throwing that thing 10 yards deep. And I don't know if it was the energy or what it was, the adrenaline, but it's going to come down to Sam Darnold. And you will be able to tell in their first 2 drives. The same thing when we had Kirk Cousins. If he came out in those first 2 drives and laid an egg, it's like, sit back. Defense better get 3 pick sixes or something because this ain't happening. So we're going to find out real quick. So it comes down to it's Sam Darnold is the only worry. Our offensive line is always a worry, but we adjust. And Darnold does his thing and moves around in the pocket. The dude, when he says he sees ghosts, he can feel pressure, man. It is so weird when he sees someone coming. He just moves. He just knows where they're at, and you're going to think you're going to get a sack, and all of a sudden he's out of there and he's throwing that thing. So there's other worries, but it's all Sam Darnold.
Well, guys, the show is coming to an end, so make sure you guys do subscribe to the channel, leave a big like on the video, and again, we want to hear from you guys in the comment section below. Whether you're watching live, whether you're watching it back, get in on the discussion. Are you taking the Rams? Are you taking the Vikings? Let us know. Also, want to get into the super chat. My boy Tyree comes in with a $2 donation, says, "Sup, PG, my guy." Shout out to all the Patriots fans, the Lions fans, all the fans that are currently watching that maybe aren't really interested in this matchup. Even if you're not a Rams fan or a Vikings fan, if you're here watching, you're here supporting Roundtable Sports, we appreciate you so much. So shout out to everybody in the chat and shout out to Tyree. But fellas, this is where we get into what you've all been waiting for, the final score predictions. One bar, let's start with you.
Vikings, week in and week out, aside from last week, close games. They'll make it close. If they're up by 15 in the third quarter, it's still going to come down to the final possession. I expect nothing different here. I do think we're going to see night and day than what we saw last week against the Lions. I think Kevin O'Connell is going to get this on track. And Brian Flores, if he gets a new job next year, wherever he might go, and he ain't going out. I mean, this ain't his last game. Vikings are going to get the dub. I got the Vikings 28-24. Sam Darnold is going to ball. Aaron Jones is going to ball, but Justin Jefferson, he's going to put on a show Monday night. Justin Jefferson is going to get about $140 and a couple tutties. It's going to be beautiful. Vikings are moving on.
Ooh, 28-24 Vikings from one bar. Let's go on over to Jake. Jake, who are you taking?
I'm going to take the Rams. I think at this stage in the game, the way that they're playing, I trust them. I think they're going all the way to the Super Bowl. I think they'll lose to the Bills, but I do think they go that far. They have championship pedigree. I trust Stafford over Darnold. If this game comes to shove, I trust Stafford more than Darnold. I trust McVay more than Kevin O'Connell. I think Kevin O'Connell's great, and I've defended Sam Darnold all year, but I trust what these guys did. Puka Nacua has only played one postseason game. It was against the Lions last year. He damn near had 200 yards. I think he's going to do that again. I think, as much as Justin Jefferson might have a show, I think Puka Nacua is going to have a show. In addition to that, I think Josh Carty and what he was able to do last week, the 4 field goals, 2 57 and a 58-yarder, one from the left hash, which he's really struggled with, getting him going is going to be massive. On the flip side of it, I think the Vikings let the better kicker go in John Parker Roma. Okay, I do. And I think that might come back to bite them. I'm going to go the Rams here. We'll say 24-20. I'm going to say that the Rams win this one. I think they're going to control the clock. I think the pass rush will get to Sam Darnold. I think we're going to see very similar. The first game, Vikings will come out strong. I think those scripted drives, they're going to be able to really, play off of. But I think the way the Rams had played this all year, they have done what they've done. They won 10 games despite the fact they are the worst first quarter team you'll ever see offensively. However, in the second half, they make adjustments better than just about anybody in the league. I think those second half adjustments will be enough. Rams move on 24-20.
One bar is taking his Vikings. We got Jake taking his Rams. What do you guys think about that? Let us know in the comment section below. Another massive shout out to BetUS for sponsoring today's video. Make sure you guys go ahead, sign up, use promo code YouTube150 to get that exclusive limited time deal from them. Leave a big like on your way out. Again, subscribe to the channel. Want to give a massive shout out to Rufus, who comes in here with a $5 donation. Says, Lions fan here. Stay away from Van Ginkel. He's a monster. Respect. What an absolute steal for you guys who have gotten in free agency. Made a massive impact on that defense for you guys. Definitely an underrated dog that maybe Stafford wants to stay away from a little bit. But hey, guys, again, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm Colby Cochran for Roundtable Sports, logging off. Appreciate you guys for watching.